Here's the bonuses for your matrix test. It looks like a test question, but I got the word bonus next to it. So you're supposed to solve the system of equations using matrices row operations, but you're allowed, this is on the calculator part, so you're allowed to use a calculator. It actually would be a pretty simple one to do by hand if you just kind of glance at it. But let's see here. Let's go to second matrix. Let's scroll over to edit. Let's imagine this was an augmented matrix. I see 3 rows, and if I look at the second equation, I see 5 columns. So she is a 3 by 5 with 4 variables. I hope several of you get this problem. If you're college bound, definitely make sure you understand this example, because we do that in college algebra. This is a valid college algebra question. So definitely try to make sure you comprehend what's going on for next year. Not necessarily algebra 2, but for next year. I didn't create this question. Pearson did. That's a book company. Somebody at Pearson did, but they weren't trying to trick you, because how they laid everything out, it was obvious things were missing, things were in the right order. It wasn't meant to be a tricky question. So anyways, I've loaded everything in my little 3 by 5 matrix. So I'm going to quit. Wish I could go home for the day, but I'm just going to quit that right now. Back to second matrix, scroll over to math. You can get there quicker by hitting the up arrow, but you're looking for that double REF. And its input was matrix A, because that's where I worked with, and I'm going to press the enter key. And isn't this ugly? Convert that to fractions. Okay, I like that better. So now the big issue on this is simply interpretation. This does not have, this is weird actually. And one of the reasons it's weird is because you had 4 variables and you only had 3 equations. So you can't possibly solve it. I hope you understand that. Like, you can't legit find out what certain things are. But you can interpret and go from there. So if I look at this equation, remember this was x, y, z, w. If I look at the bottom row, I know that z plus w is 7. If I look at row 2, I know that y plus 10/7 of w is 22/7. And if I look at the top row, I know that x take away 2/7 of w is -3/7. Now, each of these 3 equations have something in common. They involve themselves and w. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to solve every equation for the variable. So x is simply -3/7 plus 2/7 of w. Y is -10/7 of w plus 22/7. I don't know why I wrote that in order. Am I having a stupid moment? Standard form, Milbrath. Oh, what just happened? Okay. X is 2/7 of w, because we're shifting to the right, -3/7. Y is -10/7 of w plus 22/7. And then z is simply -w plus 7. What does this look like as an ordered triple? I think that's what confuses some kids in college algebra, is when we present the answer as an ordered triple, because why aren't there any numbers in the thing? That's the issue. Why aren't there any numbers? But the ordered triple is kind of funny. This is x. It's 2/7 of w minus 3/7. It's followed by y, -10/7 of w plus 22/7. It's followed by z, which is -w plus 7. And then it's followed by just z. Or sorry. Then it's followed by the variable that every living thing, everything x, y, and z depended on, w. And there's usually a disclaimer about this. What we're saying here is that x depends upon the value of w, y depends upon the value of w, z depends upon the value of w. So x, y, z depend on the value of w. So usually make a disclaimer here about w, and sometimes the author of the question will put it inside the parentheses, but there's usually a disclaimer about w. It says where w is any real number. Well, that's how you do a question like that. That's how you do those dependent systems. And again, it's beyond the scope of Algebra 2, at least in Tennessee. But you might see it if I take you to a math contest. You'll definitely see it in college algebra. All right, 15. Which of the following is equation of a line perpendicular? The 2x minus 3y equals 8 that passes through a point. So this is nothing more than going after y equals mx plus b. That's how I do it anyways. So negative 3y is negative 2x plus 8. Y would then be 2/3 x minus 8/3. Now the reason I did this is because this is my slope. My slope is 2/3. The perpendicular slope is what we call the opposite reciprocal, which is negative 3/2. And I have a point. By God, I know about point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm going to plug some stuff in. This would be y minus 3. The slope is negative 3/2, x minus a negative 6. Taking away negatives addition, y minus 3 equals negative 3/2 of x. I would have negative 18 over 2, so minus 9. Add 3 to both sides. 3/2 x minus 6. There's 15. I got 2 more to go, and looks like 7 minutes to do it before classes start. So let's keep moving forward. All right, what are the center rays of the circle with the equation x squared plus y squared plus 4x plus 6y equals 3? We're going to do an ancient technique. It's over 6,000 years old. It's called complete the square. A handful of my honors kids know that the standard form of a circle is x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equal to r squared. That is the standard form of the circle. Ms. King-Krell taught that to you last year, so I don't know why you don't know it. Anyways, I'm going to group my x's. I'm going to group my y's. And I'm going to leave the constant on the right. And there's steps to this. The first thing is to take half of b. So I'm going to find half of b. And here b is 4. That's 2. And I'm going to square it and add to both sides. So if I take 2 and square it, I get 4. And I got to add it to both sides, otherwise I break this concept of balance. But I also have to do the same thing for y, because this is its own little expression. We can put a plus symbol there. So I take half of 6. I get 3. I square it, I get 9, and I add that to both sides. And what I've done is I've created things that factor perfectly. This guy factors as x plus 2 times x plus 2, plus because there's a plus. This guy factors as y plus 3 times y plus 3, and the right-hand side adds up to be 16. Now, something written twice is squared, at least in my mind. And this now looks like that. Change sign when you leave parentheses. The center is at negative 2, negative 3. Notice how r squared lines up with 16? Means the radius is 4. Easy stuff, bro. Easy stuff. All right, what are the zeros of f of x equals blah, 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 given that x equals 2 is 0? We're going to do something called synthetic division. This is something we'll do at some point in time, and before Christmas, I think. I'm going to throw this 2 out there. I'm going to keep the coefficients of 3, 4, negative 17, and negative 6. My acronym is DMA, drop, multiply, and add. Drop the 3, multiply, 6, add is 10, 2 times 10 is 20, 3, 2 times 3 is 6, got a 0, because it was a 0. This is the remainder, the constant, the x squared. When I factor out x minus 2, this is what I get. I get 3x squared plus 10x plus 3, which is something that probably factors. It takes a 3x and an x to make 3x squared. It takes a 3 and a 1, 9 and 1 to make 10, plus plus. So I know that by using what we call the zero product property, 3x plus 1 is nothing. So x is negative 1/3. Or x plus 3 is nothing, so x is negative 3. Those are my other two zeros. And the last one is about symmetry. All right, so there's some rules on symmetry. A function is even if f of negative x is equal to f of x. Function is odd if negative f of x is equal to f of negative x. And we have origin symmetry if both even and odd. So let's go through these rules. Let's find f of negative x. F of negative x means let x be negative x. It's negative 3 times negative x that is cubed plus 6 times a negative x. If I cube a negative, I'm still negative. So negative times negative is positive. This is f of negative x. It does not equal the original function. It is not even. All right? I was also supposed to find negative f of x. Negative f of x happens when you take the entire function and wrap it in a negative and then invoke the distributive property. So that would be 3x cubed minus 6x. Now what I notice is I see that f of negative x is the same as negative f of x. This means that the function is odd. It is odd. There are your bonus questions.